All right, so everybody, we want to thank Caitlyn Doyle for being here today. She is the executive director of the North California section of the PGA. She was elected to PGA membership in 2015 after attending Penn State's PGA Golf Management Program, represent. Following her time at Penn State University, her career in golf has included roles in greengrass operations as an assistant pro at Black Butte Ranch, Sun River Resort, retail manager and assistant professional at Columbia Edgewater Country Club, and then several positions within the North California PGA, including executive assistant, player development manager, communication specialist, assistant executive director. Caitlyn worked under the outgoing NCPGA executive director, Len Dumas, from 2019 to 2021. Upon leaving, Caitlyn spent 2.5 years serving the Northern California PGA as the PGA career consultant. When Len moved from the role in 2024, Caitlyn applied and was offered the executive director position in August of 2024. So fairly new role for you, but we're really excited to have you. Did I miss anything in your bio?
No, that was awesome.
Fantastic. So the first thing we want to ask you is, what inspired your career shift, going from a green grass operation and into the North California PGA?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Firstly, thank you guys for having me. It's definitely an honor to be on this, even asked to be on this. So I know Beatrice is always getting people together, and she did that back in college when I knew her, and she's still doing it. So I love to see what you're doing with the women's division in the Philly section, and then obviously out here in NorCal we have a women's division too, and there's always so many cool ideas that we can bring back. So I appreciate you putting this together. But yeah, so like my path is very interesting. I went to Penn State for their golf management program. I am actually from Oregon, so I grew up in Corvallis, Oregon, where Oregon State is. And I'm one of 4 kids, so like going across the country was very bold for me at age 18. But my dad's from Pittsburgh, actually is kind of from there, and so we have some family out there, and so kind of originally it was just more so like, hey, they have the golf program, we have family out there, why don't you go to Penn State? And it just kind of worked out. But I think what's so unique about the PGA programs is that you get to do internships pretty much wherever you choose and all over the country. And so I took that advantage of that because I was like, you know what, if I'm going to move 3,000 miles away from home, I'm going to explore the country and kind of take advantage of this. So I did internships pretty much all over. I did the North Shore Country Club out in Long Island. I did Rockville, Maryland, Woodmont Country Club down kind of in the Mid-Atlantic section. And then I did my long internship actually at Pebble Beach Spyglass here in NorCal. And then I did my last one actually at the PGA of America office in Florida. So it really was like very targeted with my decision making of having private equity clubs as well as resort as well as admin, because I wanted to see kind of what I liked. And I really came to the conclusion that when I was out here in California in 2013 working for Pebble and Spyglass, I mean, how can you not love working for Pebble and Spyglass? But it was just such a fun experience being in California, and I just loved the people that I met, and I loved working at that resort. I learned the most about customer service there than I probably ever did at any of the other facilities. And so I kind of realized then in that moment, like I remember sitting on the beach. I was a big beach goer when I was there, and so I remember sitting on the beach and being like, man, my internship's ending, but like I'm going to be back here. I want to be back in California. I'm going to make this happen. And whether it's working at a facility or whether it's working at an admin job, I want to be back. And so I say that because I think it's important to like have those dreams and have those ideas, because like I really, really was set on that. I was like, I'm going to make my way back. And then once I had my last internship at the PGA office in Florida, that's really when it kind of shifted for me of like, oh, wow, like I can work for the association, I can work in golf, I can have still like a work-life balance and not be 24/7 at the golf course, but I can still do what I love. And so that's really, I think, really when I melded the two. After college, I ended up going back to Oregon and started working as an assistant pro, and then I was a retail buyer. And I loved doing that, but it was just, I think I had that realization one day in the golf shop, frankly, where I was just like, I want to go serve my peers. I have this calling to like give back to my peers, because I loved working for members of the club, don't get me wrong, but it was just that realization that I had more to give to my fellow golf pros. And so I think that's really when I was like, you know what, maybe I can meld the two, where I can put NorCal with the admin side, and that would be my dream job. And then kind of funnily enough, there was an executive assistant job that popped up for the section in NorCal. And I was like, this is my ticket there. This is my ticket there. And so I ended up applying and, like I said, kind of worked my way up. But that was really how I started at the office here. And I think it was just that, like I said, that realization that I really wanted to work for the association and give back, and help my peers out. Cause I know what all the golf pros go through. I went on that side. I always tell our staff, like, you know, having worked on that side of the counter, we get it. And so when we're calling our pros at the section office, we're cautious of like when we are calling them and when we are asking them for rounds and things like that, because it's important for them to understand that, you know, it's not easy working in the golf shop. It's not easy working at a golf course. And we have to be cautious of that because we're their section office and we're kind of handling their day-to-day admin needs. So yeah, I think that's kind of the start.
Amazing. So since you've started in this role, what's the biggest change that you've seen, that just for the Northern Cal section?
Yeah, we have been through a lot of change this year. So it has definitely been a changing year. We really needed to restructure both the section and foundation when I got here. And so that's been a big undertaking. Going in, I knew that I was going to have a bunch of staff changes as well. So right out of the gate, I had one that left, which I knew he was moving on. And then another left kind of shortly after that. And then I actually had a couple other changes where I had a retirement. I had to make a hire for my assistant because the assistant executive director had left for a different job. So within probably the first 6 months, I had about 3 or 4 staff changes that I had to make, which right out of the gate was difficult. But it feels great now because I feel like I'm kind of building my team and putting together the group that I hope is going to be here for a very long time. But yeah, just naturally that we've also seen a lot of growth with our business development. That was an area that I think that the officers, when I started in the job, were like, we really want to see a growth in partners. It's just an area that we frankly didn't put a lot of time into before. And so since I've been here, I've just been really, really working hard at business development and getting new partners. So over the last year, we've actually secured about 15 new partners, and a large growth of revenue, which is great for our section because a section of our size, we've kind of been under on the revenue as amount as sponsors. So that's been kind of initially my number one goal was raise revenue. And how do I do it? And it's going to be with sponsors, and then just trying to figure out other ways to make, to grow revenue for the section. There's not that many ways, as Jeff knows, but there's membership dues and different things that we get from sponsors, but like, how else can I raise revenue? And so we're looking at bringing our pro-am schedule back. That's something that we kind of got away from. So yeah, just a lot of change, a lot of newness. We're putting together our new strategic plan, which is going to be great because now in 2028, we have the PGA Championship at Olympic Club. So that's something to look forward to in about 2 or 3 years for us. Like I said, we rent our office space here. So, some section offices own, some section offices are at a golf course. We just own or rent out of a commercial kind of office space, and we're on a 3-year lease. So again, something that I've actually started talks with a golf course that's being built in the city over about potentially getting us have a space there at this golf course. So there's just a lot of moving parts in this role specifically. It's like you managing up and you're managing down, which I think is such a cool thing. And I've really enjoyed that, is that you're managing the board up, but you're also managing the staff down. And it's just, there's always something you can do. I feel like every day I leave and I'm like, man, I feel like I got nothing done. But then I look back and I'm like, I did a lot. There's a lot that we accomplished, but it's just, there's so much to do on a daily basis that you always feel like there's more that you can do. But yeah, I guess those are the biggest changes. I'm definitely seeing too, obviously too, with a lot of new associates, there's just a lot of energy around our section. I don't know if it's like that in Philly or any other sections, but it does seem like there's a lot of youth and ideas and energy coming. We've had a lot of interest in our board of directors this year. We've had a lot of interest in our committees this year, which is pretty cool to see. 2 or 3 of the new board of directors that we just got on our board for 26 were chairs of the assistant division, chairs of the women division. And it's great to see that they're wanting to get involved at a higher level. So I think, yeah, all positive things for the most part that I've seen, and just trying to, make sure that I can keep a lot of my team here happy. And that's the majority of it. So yeah.
So with that being said, what's been the biggest challenge so far in this new role?
Yeah, I wrote a few things down. I think, I think just number one, the biggest thing that you're going to have the challenge with in this role is because you're at the highest level, right? Like you're going to have differing opinions and thoughts coming from every angle. And I think that's been something that I knew was going to happen, but until you're really in the seat, it's like, you're going to have opinions from your board, right? You're going to have opinions from your staff. You're going to have opinions from your members. And your past presidents, you know, they're very vocal in Northern California. I'm sure they are in every section, with rightfully so, because they're, you know, they have ties to it. So you have a lot of like associations and people that are kind of coming at you with thoughts and ideas, and all of our allied associations that we work with. You know, we have a really good relationship with the NCGA, which is our amateur body, and I'm working on trying to get us closer and closer. But I think taking all of their thoughts and opinions and formulating like, hey, this is my opinion from that. Like, I have to take a stance on certain things, because sometimes you get pretty swayed of like, oh, well, this person wants that, or that person wants that. Like, I need to make this person happy. And it's hard. And I think it was easier at the club level. When you're working at a club, I think, I don't know, my head pro, my director golf always was like, we have gray area. Always say yes to the member, right? And I think that's true in this job too. But I think there's also like, there's parameters, there's more rules around it where I have to be a little bit more strict with some of my decision making. And so I think I've gotten better at it as time has gone on, but I think I've really had to actively be like, you know what, I'm taking everything. I'm going to think over this decision, and I'm going to make my decision tomorrow, because there is a lot of different comments, and you have to be able to filter all of it. And the one thing that I think daily that drives me is just like the why of what we do and our members. And so that's something I have like on my computer, is just like serving the member, because it's the number one mission statement of PGA, but it is truly how I live my life. Is like, at the end of the day, if I go home and I feel like I made decisions to serve our member, then I think I'm doing the job right. So that's something that I think is helpful. And I think it's helpful for everyone at Greengrass too, is like, at the end of the day, we serve our members. That's priority number one. So tough decisions are made, but if it's made with the benefit of our members in NorCal, they're gonna appreciate it.
So what's the biggest accomplishment you've seen since your new role?
Yeah, I think kind of the staff. So that's been something I'm really proud of. I mean, like I said, I told you guys that we had a lot of change. We have a retirement this year. I promoted someone internally for a new foundation job. We've had a couple people leave. We hired on an ops director, and we had a really good chance to kind of build our culture again here. And I think that that's been important. So when I worked for the PGA of America, I thought it was so cool at the PGA that we had shared values. And so that was actually how, like, you know, when you got hired for the PGA, it was like, here's the 4 or 5 shared values that the PGA has. This is what we live by every day. Everyone's calling each other out on Slack and like giving each other kudos, which I thought was so good for culture. And so when I came here, we never really had anything like that. And so instantly right away, I'm like, great, low hanging fruit. Let's build some shared values as a group. And so in our first like staff meeting, I don't know, it was last year whenever I started, I'm like, let's start brainstorming. And it was a group decision. It wasn't just my decision of like, hey, these are the things we're going to live by. It was everyone put input in, and we actually have now 8 shared values. And I think that we just kind of throughout the year, we give each other props during our staff meetings. So we do a bi-weekly staff meeting, and then everyone can write these props of like, hey, I want to shout out Patrick for living our shared value of agility and adaptability. And how did he have that? And then every staff meeting, we start the meeting with reading those off. And it's just a great way to like build the team and the culture and give each other shout outs. So I think that's something that I'm really proud of. Is the team seems really happy here. They seem like they're really heard. It seems like we have a great kind of open door policy with me, with all of our other managers. It's just like, hey, if there's something going on, we want to know, we want to support you. So that's been really, really exciting. And then another thing too, I'm really proud of is our Langley tournament. So our foundation, we solely support PGA Hope. So we're a little different than other sections that support like all the pillars of PGA Reach, but we just focus on Hope. And our biggest fundraiser of the year is the Langley, and it's at Pebble Beach, and it's this big fundraiser. And we actually hit $300,000 this year for Langley, which was about $100,000 in growth from years prior. So just a great team effort. Like everyone really pitched in, and it just was really cool to see our donors show up this year. So I'm really proud of that event too. And then just the growth of the partners, just trying to, you know, create like this family atmosphere here. We started a partner appreciation day this year, which was kind of fun and new. I know some sections do it, but we just felt like, hey, how can we give back to the partners other than just calling them and checking in and writing them a thank you note at the end of the year for their contribution. So we invited them out to play. We got a really great golf course in NorCal because I think it needs to be at a high-end facility for them to come out. And then it's just like, hey, let's play golf. You get a tea gift. You come after golf. You have cocktails, appetizers, and we just thank them all. And I had probably 2 or 3 people after that event that are like, we've never had this before. This is so cool. We just feel so appreciated and heard. Normally, like, we're the ones kind of at your events doing the activations, and for us to be the ones that we're getting to enjoy was really special. So yeah, just all those I think are probably the biggest achievements or things I'm most proud of this year.
That's awesome. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, my dog's freaking out. So with that being said, we're really lucky that you have all this wonderful background between working in green grass and with the section, but also at different types of, resort facilities, private facilities. I want to dive in a little bit because this is a women's committee sort of issue. And one of the things that we all deal with running, different operations is how women tend to be a little bit different and have different needs. So my next question is, how can we make golf not about men and women and, separate, but how can we make it more inclusive for everybody? So an example is, a club that doesn't necessarily have ladies tees or men's tees. It's just tee set 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or tee set by color.
Yeah, no, I love that question. And there's so many different things that I could say. I think what I hate is I really don't like at private clubs that they still have a lot of those like men's and ladies days. I think that's number one, got to go. I mean, that's, it's just separating people right out of the gate. But I think actually a way to get around it is really just like combining people in everything we do. So like something that we did actually with the cup matches this past year, we always had our men's cups matches and we always had our women's cup matches. And this year we just said cup matches. Like, why are we doing this? It's just the cup matches. And so the women are going to play the same time the men are, and it's just going to be like that. That's just how we're going to do it. And so I think just making those decisions, and I think also too having leadership be behind it as well. I mean, that's important. Your general managers, your leadership team, your board, they all need to understand the importance of getting women into the game of golf and supporting them in their endeavors. And so I think if we can continue to just kind of put it out there of like limiting the word use of women and men and just combining things. It's just like, hey, play whatever tee you want. Hey, the cup matches are now the cup matches, and we have different fields, but there's different things going on, but it's just the cup matches. Like, so I think that's a way to get around it. It's hard though. I mean, it's hard because I know that a lot of the women in our section do get intimidated going out to a section tournament. And frankly, I get it. And so that's where we've kind of broken off and done our own women's events versus just having like section events and then playing afterwards, still in our division, but playing at the same section tournament. We ended up just kind of having our own events, but you kind of have to just break the ice. And I think you need a good leader. I think that's important. I think if the women's division leader like yourself and others are really, really vocal about finding change and promoting change, I think it'll naturally happen. I mean, obviously with me and this role being a female, it's just naturally going to happen because I'm going to push it just because it's something that's important to me. But I think it starts really honestly from the top, and you just kind of have to make those changes and start somewhere. You just really got to start somewhere.
With that being said, I'm going to go off book here for a little bit.
Yeah.
With that being said, do you see anything, at least in like chapter meetings or, section meetings of, when people slip in like, good morning, gentlemen, where it's like, okay, you have this question of, it's meant to be, nice, but you're 6 women in the room. Why am I addressing the room as gentlemen? I'm sure it doesn't come from you because you're aware of it, but how do you sort of deal with that on a day-to-day basis? I'm sure you have gained the respect of everybody around you, but I'm sure there are still challenges as well.
Yeah, no, I definitely encounter a lot of that. And I think, I think I've gotten to the point, I think, where I think I've earned the respect, but I also think I'm at the level where it's not that I don't care, but I'm happy to stand up for myself and I'm happy to stand up for others. And so like when that does happen, because frankly, it does happen a lot, where it's just, and then sometimes it'll be like, oh, hey guys, oh, I'm sorry. Like, and they'll kind of apologize, but they'll kind of half apologize. I'll just ask them and talk to them after, I'll just be like, hey, just FYI, right? Like just courtesy, moving forward, could you please, insert ladies and gentlemen, or could you please insert this, just to kind of let them know, because sometimes they've never really been told. And again, until we say it, it's probably just going to be their natural words. And so I have no problem going up to our section board and being like, hey, FYI, let's maybe not do that next time. And so, and that's, you just kind of got to do it. But yeah, it's hard. I mean, it's hard. I think you got to have really tough skin in this industry. And I think that that's something, it was really interesting actually when I worked at Pebble Beach for my internship. That was the same time as the Sandusky scandal at Penn State. So it was a really hard time being a student. And you remember, Beatrice, from when you were there. It was hard. And so that was one of my internships. I actually had a Penn State logo on that day at Pebble Beach, and I'm literally tea hosting that day at Pebble. And I remember this group of guys comes up to me, and they just start ripping into me, like just for no reason, right? Like I'm just I'm a 22-year-old, 21-year-old student, and these guys are ripping into me about Penn State. And, I got pretty emotional, right? And I'm just like, this is ridiculous. And so, and I talked about it after with my boss, and he's just like, hey, like, I get it. You're emotional about it, but like, let's talk through it. And so he was a really good mentor in that moment to just kind of like be like, hey, I hear your voice, but like, let's work through this together, and let's kind of get you back out there so you're confident to get back out there, because I don't want this to affect your day, because I could have easily just been like, what, screw it, I'm out. But it was one of those things where he was like, no, let's get you back on the tee, get your confidence back. And it has nothing to do with you. It's with the school. It's not anything to do with you. And so, yeah, you have to have tough skin. I think that's something you're going to get comments all the time. One of the ones at Columbia Edgewater one time that made me laugh was, I'm sure all the women on this have gotten this, is like, hey, can I talk to one of the golf pros, as I'm standing at the counter checking someone in? And I said, yeah, I am one of the golf pros. I'm happy to help you with your club fitting. And I think just being like very direct with them and like formal helps. Like, instead of getting emotional, instead of getting down, it does suck. But I think there's a time and place to kind of like vent about it afterwards. But until we kind of keep standing up for ourselves in those moments, like they'll notice the changes. And I frankly never got that ever again after that moment, because I stood up for myself. So yeah, it's hard, but you got to have great mentors. You got to have great people to vent to. In this job specifically, because I am the executive director, I can't really vent to my staff, right? Like it's a bit of a funky thing. It's hard, and I'm sure it's nice having the community of EDs, like all 41 of us, just because I know that I can call Jeff and he knows what I'm going through. I know that I can call the other 7 EDs that are women, and I can just kind of vent to them about what's going on, and they can help me. But you do need to have people that help you work through those things and just be able to talk about it, because it can get really heavy on you. And I think that was when I first started in the first 5-6 months. It was a lot, and there was a lot going on. I was taking on a lot more responsibility, and it was heavy on me. And I had to find a way to get back to like just being myself again, and like more happy and having someone that I could talk to. And so I found like more of my network now, and I'm able to kind of talk to them on a regular basis. But we all need that. So, and it's okay to admit that you need that, right?
Totally. Well, with that being said, if, obviously there are things that are within our control and things that are out of our control, but what would you, if you could change the landscape of women's golf, or, the women in golf in general within the PGA network, what would you want to change?
Yeah, I think, well, I mean, I definitely, as far as even just courses, right? Like I think some of the courses and things are just not really that accessible to women. Like I think the carries, the forced carries and things like that, a lot of these courses are really difficult for women to play. I remember when I was teaching on my green grass days, I always would get women that'd be like, hey, I just want to practice my 5 hybrid so I can get over that water on hole 3. And I'm just like, this is tough. I get it. You guys can't hit over the water. And so I think just naturally some of the golf courses are really tough for women. So I think just looking at the right tees, especially in our section events, I think typically across the board, we're all pretty much right around like 80% of the tees from the men's, but making sure that they're at the right tees is really important to get the women playing and active. And then definitely at the club level too. I mean, I always was a big proponent when I was teaching of like playing as short as you want, and we did Operation 36 there, which I think is a great program too, just trying to get everyone to start shorter and then continue to work on your game. You go further back. but just, stuff like that, like making sure that they are having fun out there is priority and not making the game super, super hard. That's going to keep them coming back. We took a ladies trip to Bandon Dunes every year when I was up at Columbia Edgewater. And every year I was just like, the bunker rules, throw it out. Like, if you don't feel like you want to hit it, like, pace of play. Also, this is fun. You guys are coming to spend your money to travel to Bandon Dunes as a group. Like, I don't want you to be having a hard time out there. Like, if you don't want to hit it out, just throw it out. But yeah, I think those are some ways definitely to help with that.
What do you think the future looks like for the PGA? And this is not necessarily a women specific question, but what do you see down the pipeline from your role?
Yeah, I think I see it. I see a large shift coming soon. I think we're already kind of seeing the beginning of it. We have definitely a aging demographic right now in golf. So even just from the last, so we do our board of directors elections every like October. And so obviously, as you guys all know, it's only members in good standing that can vote for that. And so out of the 1,200 members, I'm filtering through our list and I'm realizing it's actually less than 600 people that can actually vote now. And it's funny because I've been here for 7 years now working for NorCal. And I remember doing that same report when I had first started here. And I was like, man, this was well over 600, 700 when I was starting out here. And so we're just already starting to see the kind of the aging life member, retired life member, people that are kind of aging out in the game. And then obviously we're seeing a lot of the growth because PGA of America has put a lot of money and funding into recruiting. So we're seeing all these new associates, which is great because we have almost 400 associates in Northern California. I'm sure you guys are around the same, but I think what I see the most is just a lot of opportunity. I think I try to encourage a lot of our AA division members when I see them and talk to them at events of like, be patient. You have to stay the course because, out of the gate, it is hard, right? You come out of school, you feel like you want to be, top dog. You kind of want those big jobs. There is a level to it. You have to work your way up there. And I think if these associates, are patient and stay the course, they're going to walk into some really, really big time, like director of golf, head pro, GM type roles, I think over the next 5-10 years, because we're already seeing it here in Northern California. I mean, example A, me, right? Like, I'm I think I am the youngest executive director across the country. Like, we are seeing an aging demographic and if you're patient and you're willing to work hard, I think you're going to be able to walk into some really great jobs. So I definitely see that trend for sure. And I think just a lot with this AI thing is really going to be interesting over the next few years. We talked a little bit about at the PGA annual meeting, but I mean, like, even just with our staff here in the office, like, we're using it for everything. Like, we use it, like, the guys are putting together the special awards videos right now to play at the special awards dinner. And they're like, oh yeah, we just did like AI voice. And so it's just playing the AI voice while the videos are doing it. I'm like, that saved you guys so much time. Like, this is great. So that's going to be interesting. The AI with the teaching side of it for our teaching professionals is going to be very interesting and somewhat of a maybe threat, but I'm just interested to see how all that kind of unravels over the next few years, but I think we all just kind of need to stay on top of it and get ahead of it. It's definitely something like I said, we're kind of redoing our strategic plan right now for NorCal. And that's a big part of it is with AI and how this looks for our golf professionals. So yeah, I think that those are probably the two biggest that are on my mind, at least for the PGA. I definitely want to make sure that we continue to support our associates getting through the program because I think level 1 is always the hardest. And if you can get them past level 1 to level 2, the majority of them do complete their PGA membership. So we put together a mentoring program about 2 years ago now here in NorCal, and it's been pretty successful, but I really want that to be even better. We have a lot of interest from our mentors, like our older demographic members are like, I'm happy to mentor someone, but we haven't really been able to get like our associates really committed to signing up to be a mentee. And it's like, how do we approach them best to be like, hey, you really need this. You need to find someone in our section that's not maybe your boss, because sometimes it's hard to talk about things with your boss. Paired up with someone in our section that can help you kind of as you go along your journey. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. But yeah.
Right. So that's the end of our planned questions. I do want to open it up to the group here. If you have any questions for Caitlyn, I have a couple more, but if you have anything you want to hit on, please raise your hand, speak up. We'd love to open it up to you guys.
Go for it, Joanna.
Thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it. And hello to everyone on the call. Question about your tournaments, the tees. So it's a sometimes very negative rhetoric around where the women play from in section events. Ours is 85%. And they do a great job of being consistent with the 85%. But I was on the national tournament committee, and it's a very difficult topic for lots of sections. So I was wondering how you are helping with your tournament committee to tame that negative rhetoric, because as we know, this is, the association is not just a men's association. So, and I like to make sure that we promote that any tour event, is typically 85 to 90%. We see it at the Grant Thornton and the Scandinavian mixed gender events. So I'm just wondering how you are handling that with your members and if you have any advice.
Yeah, that's a great question. We've actually been pretty fortunate that we haven't had like a ton of kickback here in Northern California. We do the same thing. We kind of follow the guidelines of national with the 85%. One thing that's, I think, helped us is we do have the women's division chair, and then usually one other woman sit on our tournament committee, which I think is kind of a good first step. I'm sure you're already doing that, but if you're not, I would definitely encourage that, just because every single tournament committee update and meeting, we actually have like a separate part just for the women to update on their events and what's going on. And that conversation does come up often, but we do, because they're in the calls and they're in on those decision-making kind of decisions. The guys on the committee and everyone in that committee is very supportive of the women's rules and get it. So, and then I think our tournament director, Sean, does a really nice job too of understanding what he needs to do to provide that for the women. We've actually tried to get better at on our section events on Golf Genius, not just having the tees for the men, but also putting like the amount for the women. So like if it's at 5,400 or whatever, like actually promoting it on Golf Genius. So then the women are more encouraged to actually sign up for it, because sometimes women go on there and they're like, okay, there's probably no tees. And it's like, well, yes, of course there's tees. Every single tournament has the women's tees, but if we can help them kind of see it, that also helps. But yeah, I think having that voice in the tournament committee has been really, really good. Our women's division chair has been awesome for many, many years. She's actually kind of winding down this year, but we have a new incoming gal that kind of shadowed with her for a year. So I think it's just going to continue to roll, and she's definitely earned the respect on that committee. So we kind of haven't had a ton of problems, thankfully.
You're lucky.
Yeah.
I've got one for you, Caitlyn.
Sure, go for it.
I know that Jeff's gotten involved in some like executive searches. Have you been able to get involved in many of those in California?
Yeah, great question. That's something that's near and dear to my heart, because when I was a career consultant for a couple of years, I was doing the searches. So I love executive search. I think it's such a good brand that we've built. I'm so happy that we're in the recruiting space and the search space. I think some of the coolest memories I'm ever going to have in my career were some of the searches that I did. I mean, I did this one at Green Hills Country Club out like in the San Francisco Bay with one of my mentors. And it was just such a great experience. So I love seeing the candidates. And what's so cool about it is that you get to meet these candidates from all over the country, and then you get to help like mentor them like for the next job. And so it's actually really interesting. A couple of the people that didn't get this one head pro job that I worked on ended up getting the next job that they applied for. And it's like, that's what's so cool about the career consultants, is they have the ability to go kind of after the fact, like, hey, here's the things I noticed about your interview. Here's the things I noticed about your resume. Like, these are the things that you really need to get dialed before your next interview. And I think you're going to get the job after that. So, yeah, as ED, I'm not doing like as much because we obviously backfilled my job and we have a new career consultant, but I am involved. So typically, like if he has to sell one, sometimes I'm in on the calls just to kind of like have that voice from the section side. But like day to day doing the actual search process, it's really more Daryl, but I love the search space.
Any like advice or feedback for somebody like such as like myself or Beatrice? It's kind of like right on the cusp, looking for that next opportunity, looking for the next, right move.
Yeah, I think just continue to to really nail your interview process. I mean, that's really practice. I think that's something that's really important, is just practicing, like getting in front of people and actually being on video calls and having feedback. And then also like in person, you know, like when I was applying for the ED job, I'm not kidding you, I put so much time into that, right? Like I would stand there in my living room and just rehearse it over and over in front of my boyfriend. He's like, nope, redo it. That's terrible. Go back. And I'm just like, but you need someone to like be there just standing, like encouraging you. And it was just funny because like from the beginning of me starting to prep for my ED interview to the end, I'm like, hey, now like I think I got it. Like I kind of nailed this. So but yeah, and also just being yourself. I think that's what's most important. What was so cool, I tell people all this all the time. I loved what I did as career consultant. Like I thought it was the coolest job in the world. I loved it. And so I had complete peace about applying for the ED job. It was like, cool. I love this job. I'm applying for more because I know that I want to challenge myself more. That's really why I applied. It was, people asked me, they're like, you didn't really report to anyone as career consultant. You kind of had like freedom to do what you wanted. You worked from home. Like, why do you want this job? Like, you have to report to a board. You have to manage a staff. You have so much pressure on yourself. And I'm like, because I want to challenge myself. Like, I want to do it. Like, I need to be challenged. And so I think that was, going into the interview process, I was like, I had complete peace where I went in and I actually wasn't even nervous that day, which is the weirdest thing in the world. I'm normally super nervous with those things, but I literally went in and had complete peace. And I was like, you know what? If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And if not, I have a great job and it's going to be okay. I think if you have that mindset with these jobs, sometimes that helps. I think sometimes people get really worked up about these interviews. And it's like, at the end of the day, like everything you do it's a learning process and it's going to help you for the next one. And if you don't get so attached to it and you just kind of let it be, you're going to be less tense in the interview. You're going to be less, tied to the decision, and you're just going to go in there and be yourself. And that's the most important. Like that, I remember my dad before the interview was like, just be yourself. If they want Caitlyn, they're going to hire Caitlyn. But if you're someone different in the interview and then a month later, they're like, oh, this isn't who we hired. Like you're lying to them, right? Like just be yourself. And so I think that's what's cool, is that they obviously saw something in me, and and here I am. But it was when they've hired me too, it was just like hey, we're hiring you for who you are now, but we're hiring you for how much potential you have in the years to come, which I thought was really, really cool, because I was young and I had kind of told them up front, hey, I know I'm young and I know that I have a lot to learn, and I'm definitely going to be the first to tell you that I don't know it all, but I'm going to work hard and I'm going to use my resources. So I think that would help for you guys, kind of finding someone that really can push you in that space.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Go for it, Amanda.
Thank you. Thanks again, Caitlin, for your time today.
Yeah.
The Northern California section is pretty large geographically. Do you have any best practices of how you connect with your section being so large, and kind of like if there's something you wish every member in your section knew about your office and what you guys do?
Yeah, that's great questions. I'll probably need you to repeat the second one, but I'll do the first one first. We have a very large section. We have 1,200 members, 6 chapters, which is a pretty big amount of chapters. And we pretty much run from like the Oregon border down to like half the state. So it's San Luis Obispo and then all the way over to Visalia. And then we actually have part of Reno, Nevada too, which some people don't realize that we actually have part of Nevada in our section. So it's very large. One thing that we do is obviously the chapters, have a voice. We're a little unique. Some sections have like chapter executive directors that kind of oversee the chapters. All the chapters are underneath the section. So like what I've done is we hired an operations manager here at the office, Zach. He's kind of like second in command. Like he's kind of like the person that kind of the right hand. And I want him to kind of take over more of the chapters. So he's really their kind of like contact on a daily basis for their needs. And I'm more like section governance. So when someone has a question chapter related, I want them going to Zach. But every chapter has usually a spring meeting and then a fall meeting. And we do try to like divvy it up to at least get Zach or myself at every one of those to help, like you said, with the kind of the distance around the section, is making sure that a section presence is at every one of those so they get a section update. And if we can't be there in person, we're definitely going to give like a call-in update. And then one thing that we actually started new this year is we're going to do a chapter orientation. So because all of our chapters and divisions are all underneath the section, so we have our women's division, we have our seniors division, our assistant associate division, and then our, I think that's it, those 3 divisions, and then all of our chapters. Every year we have incoming chairs for all those chairs, chapters, and divisions. And so there's always just like lots of confusion on like who does the budget, who does the purse payouts, who does this, does the section do that, does the chapter do that? And so we ended up kind of putting together this chapter orientation where everyone's going to come here to the office and basically just go through Golf Genius together, go through anything that Sean, our tournament director, needs, anything that our accounting coordinator Jenna needs, just to kind of run it down of like, so there's no surprises going into the next year. Like, this is what we're expecting from the chapters and this is what we're expecting from the sections. And I think that kind of helps to your point of like the distance and the how big we are, is I think if we just give them direction and guidance, then they're a little bit more like, okay, now I know what I'm doing. But I think when the years passed, it was always just like, I don't know what the section does, I don't know what the chapter does, what are we responsible for? So this is kind of a first step to try to kind of nail it down a little bit better. So but yeah, we do try to also spread out, like having speakers from every different chapter, like on different webinars we have, or inviting them to section meetings just so they can kind of be heard. Because, you know, our North State chapter, I mean, it's literally like on the Oregon border. We might have like 3 golf courses up there. And so it's for them to travel from basically the Oregon border down to like San Francisco, where a lot of our events are. It's like a 5-hour drive, you know, and so a lot of them aren't doing that on a daily basis. So we try to check in on them. We try to make sure that we're at their events. We try to at least get up there once a year, so they kind of feel like they're part of the section. So, and what was your second part?
I was just asking, kind of, it could be tied with the last question, but just what's one thing you wish everyone in your section knew about your guys' office? And
Yeah.
you know.
That's a good one. We always joke about this because I always think, like, I wish our members would be able to see what we do on a daily basis, you know, because I think there's a lot of comments. It's not bad, right? But there's a lot of comments from our section members that are like, what do you guys do on a daily basis? Because they just don't know. They don't know the capacity and the amount of volume we do on a daily basis here in the office. And so we always joke, I'm like, I just want like a day in the life of the NCPGA where any member can come in and just sit and observe for the day. Because I'm like, you guys would see some pretty funny stuff just between our team and how much that, you know, we do on a daily basis, from calling members, from admin work, you know, tournament coordination, junior golf. I mean, it's impressive what we crank out on a yearly basis, especially too with our team. I mean, we're kind of a smaller team. We're only 9. For the size of our section's pretty crazy. So I still think one of these years I'm going to record that and just start recording clips of all of us every single day. I'd love to do like a day in the life of the ED video one day and just kind of like share it with our board and be like, this is what I do every day. Like, it's just nonstop. Like, it doesn't stop. So but yeah, I think that's something that would really educate our members as to like, maybe they appreciate us, but I think that they'd be like, wow, this is really cool that you guys do all this for us. This is pretty special. So yeah.
Go for it, Megan.
It's more of a comment based on what we just talking about, Caitlin, and also thank you for your time today. This has been an awesome call. But you know, Matt, it sounds like you have another like avenue to start following Jeff around on a daily basis, and Cassie and all the and Courtney, and so Caitlin, thanks for putting that idea out there, and I think we should run with it.
Yeah, I think you should.
I have to say, we Golf Mills sort of had the same thing where our board was like, why do you need 8 people here for an outing? And we filmed our operation from start to finish and showed it to our board. And I think it gave them a greater appreciation for what we do and, you know, the amount of work that goes into it. Because obviously I've talked to Jeff about it. You guys do such a massive amount of work at the section office. So just to highlight that, what is the biggest thing you see with, you know, there's the trend in work-life balance of not wanting to work, you know, the younger generation, it's not that they don't want to work, it's that they want a better work-life balance because, you know, the golf world is known for working you into the ground and you getting really burnt out. How do you prevent that with your staff? And what are the trends that you see with your clubs trying to fight that culture?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think here it's building the culture that we've started since I've been here, and just making sure that people are heard and seen. So like if they are tired, if they do need a day at home, I'm never gonna say like no, right? It's just like, hey, come to me, ask me what do you guys need, and I'm gonna make it happen. But I think we have a really good team. And I think that's really where it starts, is that you need, sometimes you're going to be like 100% and you're rocking and rolling that day and you're cranking out stuff. And then some days you're just not. Some days you're going to be at like 40% and you're going to have to rely on your teammates to help you with something. I think we've really fostered a culture of like delegation here, and also like just like talking about what we need to get done. So like since I've got here, actually one of the things is I brought like a whiteboard. So right when you walk into the office, there's like a whiteboard now. And I usually have like a daily quote or like whatever, like a prompt. And we're going to start doing these like kind of morning huddles where it's like, hey, this is what I'm working on today. This is what I'm working on. This is what I could use some help on. Just kind of being transparent about it all is a good way to like kind of encourage work-life balance. So it's like, hey, I need some help today, and this is what I'm working on. And that seems to be kind of helpful. But then also too, it's like just making sure that our staff is taking their time off. I mean, that's really important for me as a manager. I need to make sure that I'm doing that. Our tournament director, who's been here for 7 years, he never takes time off. And so I literally this year, I'm just like, you're taking a week off in March. It's the slow time for us. You're going to do it. And just making sure that they know that they have the time off, that they can use it. On the weekends, I do not bug them unless there's an emergency or something like that. I'm respectful of their days off. I think that's important too, is your manager needs to be respectful of the days off, and they need to get that. And so when there's someone, and if they prep someone else in the office, like, hey, I'm going to be out for these 3 or 4 days, I already have backup on this. That's what we try to encourage. It's like, okay, if you're going to be out, that's fine. I'm not going to bug you, but I need you to have backup. And so that's just kind of helping the staff learn those skills of like, you just need to get backup. You need to make sure that your stuff is done. You need to make sure that there is something that I need to be aware of it. So when you're gone, so I don't have to bug you. And then just being transparent and communicative in the staff meetings and during those daily huddles of like, hey, I need some help on this today. We're trying to get better at Slack. We don't really use it a whole lot. I mean, there's only 9 of us. We just kind of, we're all just sitting next to each other. We can just ask each other. Yeah. But it really comes down to transparency and just support. I mean, that's the work-life balance thing it's hard. I mean, I wish I could tell you I do better with it because I work on the weekends all the time, but I mean, it's okay because I love what I do and I'm not really worried about it. And you got to do what you got to do. Some days you're going to have to work on the weekends, or some days you're going to have to put a little extra hours in. But, you know, some days too, I might be able to zip out a little early and go play with one of our members or go play with one of our board of directors or whatever. And I don't feel bad about it because if I asked one of my other team members to do it, I just got to trust that they're going to do it, you know? So it's a lot of trust and leadership for sure. Those are good questions. Really good questions. I'm ready for more.
Caitlyn, you mentioned you and your team came up with shared values.
Yeah.
What are the shared values you guys landed on?
Yeah, let me pull them all up because I don't have them all memorized. So I should, because there's 8 of them, but I don't. Yeah, they're good. They're good. I'll show you. Okay. It is have each other's back. So that was actually one that we took from PGA of America. Respect the PGA brand and each other. Service mindset. Transparency and clarity in all we do. Agility and adaptability. Thrive through change. Growing personally and professionally. And then lead by example. So those are the 8. And I can send this to you. We actually had our comms girl, she put like this cute little graphic together on Canva and printed it all off. And so each of us have it at our desks. And then we printed off the props that PGA of America uses. And we just have like a folder right by Jenna's desk. And so then you can just throughout the week, you can just go on there and write a prop for someone and share it at the staff meeting. So, yeah.
I love everything that you said.
Thanks.
So awesome. I remember when I was new, right? When I came in, I think at the time I was the youngest executive director in the country when I took the job. And I think you know, along with the challenge of being younger, you know, you add in the challenge of being a woman, right? So I can't imagine, you know, the hurdles that you faced so far. And I remember that early on there were certain members that would test you, that tested me, right? Like how far can I go with the new one, right?
Oh, yeah.
And super proud of you. You know, everything that you said has been fantastic, and having been in my role now for, you know, for a couple of years, it's awesome to hear it from somebody that's starting out, you know, and it really brings me back to my earlier years with the section, and having to blaze your own path, and you don't feel like you don't want to feel like you have to prove yourself, but you do, right? Like your own drive makes you want to, you know, prove yourself along the way. And the things that you said about, you know, what do we do? You know, when I go home, you know, what did you do today? Well, we did everything today, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you look at the team and everything that we do, you kind of do everything every day. And I think one of the challenges for us in this business, and even on the golf side, it's kind of, you know, there's great quote from Jim Smith when I started earlier. He's like, listen, you can be good at a lot of things, but you can't be great at anything. Just because there's so many things that we touch, it's just really hard to be great at everything that we do. But I got to say, you've been fantastic, Caitlyn. Congratulations on everything. This was your time. I didn't want to jump in the middle and jump on anybody's question, but you know, super proud and you know, always here for you if anything that you need. So.
Thanks, Jeff. That means a lot. I appreciate that. And yeah, you were definitely one of the first ones that emailed me right away and was like, just call me if you need anything. So I appreciate that. And I know that I have the ED family as a resource. I need to be probably even better at using it. But I think sometimes we do get kind of siloed in our own islands out here. And then sometimes you forget that you can just call someone. You can just ask them for help.
Yeah, I think it's hard. And all of our golf professionals have it too, right? Like you have kind of that small group, right? Like, you know, we have our 41, right? But there's probably 3 or 4 that I always reach out to, and I'm sure there's 3 or 4 that you always reach out to, and we all get into this, you know, you get into this, you know, island mindset where, man, I'm the only person that's dealing with this, and you know, lo and behold, you send out a text or an email to somebody. Never send Slack, because if my staff ever wants to have like secrets from me, they'll just do it on Slack, because I've totally tapped out of Slack. But then you find out that everybody's fighting the same fight, right? And everybody's kind of run into that challenge, you know, at one time or another. So don't ever feel like you're on an island in any sense, because everybody's dealt with it. Somebody's dealt with it at some point.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate that. Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, actually, that brought up another thought too that I just want to share real quick too. Is it on that kind of note of like just mentoring and having someone as like a resource? I think one thing that's really helped me, and I think like honestly every female should have this too in this business, is just like a really good 1 or 2 male mentors. And this is why, because so when I got for the ED job, I had Edwin Nicky. He's the career consultant. He was the career consultant for Southern California. Now he's the assistant executive director at SoCal, working for the ED. But he was like my personal cheerleader, and you need like a man to also help support you, because if you're going to you're a female in a male dominated business, yes, of course we're all tight as women, because we should and we have to be to stay close together, but you also need a couple men that are really on your side, because when I was applying for the ED job, he really stood up for me. He contacted some of the board of directors, he contacted some of the selection committee, he really spoke on my behalf because he had seen who I was as a career consultant. And I think that's really important, is find those people that can kind of also get in some of those guys' ears that maybe another woman couldn't, and have those people as resources for you too, because you need both. You need both the women, and you need some really good men that are on your side as well.
Yeah, Becky Dengler was my champion early on.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any other questions? Sorry.
Oh, you're good. Yeah, and that Ed is always just one of those people that he'll just cheerlead you, right? Like I'll just be like in my dumps and like mentioning something, and he's just like, dude, you're awesome. Like, remember what you've done? Like you just need someone to like pump you up. And I'm like, wow, I feel so good about myself. Like, you're right. I did go to Penn State. He said, then you just need someone like that.
All right, I have one last question.
Sure.
Obviously, we're all golf pros or, professionals in the golf business. Outside of golf, what fills your cup? What do you like to do? What is your thing? Is it multiple things?
Yeah, no, I love that question. Thanks for asking that. So yeah, my faith is really important to me. So that's something that I've really grown into my faith especially over the last few years. Just taking on like all of this responsibility. Like I need something to ground me. And so like going to church and being involved in my church, I'm involved with like a women's group there. So like just to add more stuff to the plate, but every other Wednesday, this group of ladies and I meet and we do usually like a book study. And so we always kind of do that. And it's just nice to have like other female friends that are completely not in golf. Cause I have a lot of great female friends that are golf, but like these women, none of them golf. They have no idea what golf is. So it's nice to have them as just kind of people to support on. So, just kind of faith and honestly, just family running. I ran the New York City Marathon 3 years ago with Team PGA Reach, and that was a really big accomplishment for me. I started getting into running about 5 years ago, and it was kind of one of those things that I was just like, hey, like I'm really bad at running and I want to be good at it. And that's really where it just kind of flipped for me. And I just decided to sign up for a half marathon one day, and now I'm a runner and I've done 12 half marathons and a full marathon, and I'm still going. But it's a mental break for me. So training on the weekends or doing long runs on the weekends is a way for me to release. Like I listen to a podcast, I listen to music or a book, and I just run. And that's kind of like my start to the weekends. I love going to Orange Theory Fitness. So like having like a mental release from work and life is really important for me. My fitness, my faith, those are things that keep me grounded. And then obviously my family is really important. I didn't really mention a ton about them, but I'm one of 4 kids. So my parents both live up in Oregon. I have 2 sisters and a brother. My sister lives in Spain, actually with her husband now. So they actually just went to that NFL game this weekend in Spain, which was cool. My little sister's finishing up med school, and then my brother is a lawyer back home in Oregon. So like all of them just really inspire me. We're really lucky that our family, our parents pushed, career on us and like just making sure that we have everything we need to be successful. And so they're just always really good resources for me when I can call any of them and just talk to them and vent to them. I don't get to see them nearly as much as I want, but family, faith, running. My boyfriend's obviously important to me as well. So, just spending time with him. He's not in the golf space, which is great. So that's nice. So he's completely different. So all those things keep me grounded.
Great. Well, if nobody has any additional questions.
All right.
Yeah. Oh, you're good.
Sorry, I think we're glitching here. Thank you so much for being with us today. Caitlyn, it's been so wonderful having you answer these questions for us. Thank you for your time, and we hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Yeah, thank you so much for this. This was awesome. Really appreciate it. If anyone needs anything, just please reach out. I'm always happy to text, call, email. So hopefully you can share my contact info.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll email it out to everybody.
I'll see you guys at the PGA show probably.
Yep.
Thank you, Caitlyn.
Thanks, Caitlyn.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.